All right. I think we're live.
Oh my gosh.
I know, right?
Okay. All right. I'm excited and nervous all at the
Yeah,
same time.
me too. It feels a little weird because, we have these regular coffee chats, but we do it in English and we
Mm-hmm.
do it in our closed private Coda Facebook group.
Mm-hmm.
And now,
And yep, this is the first time we're doing it in ASL. And I'm a little like, okay, what is going to happen now that I'm doing this in sign language? How is it going to be different than our English coffee chats? They do say that you have different emotions and thoughts related to each of the languages that you use and know. So I'm kind of like, what's going to come of this?
yeah, definitely. So this is an experiment. So let's be honest about that. We have almost every week had a private Facebook group coffee chat, and it was intentionally private. It was only codas that were invited
Yeah.
because we
Yeah.
knew we were going to air out a little bit of dirty laundry. We were going to talk about our
Yeah.
story. We're going to
Yeah.
talk about other people's story. We knew it'd be sensitive.
Yeah.
And we had talked many times and grappled with if we should open it or not. And the only reason why we're considering opening it now is because people have asked us to.
Hmm.
People have asked, and not from the place of why is it private?
Right. But they're
I,
curious.
yeah, I think they're more curious. They want to hear what
And
information we have to share.
and I appreciate that because, as the Coda Network, as TCN, we encourage Codas really to own their stories, own their
Yes.
narratives and their experiences. And that means that you have to get to a place where you're then ready to share that narrative and be honest with it and say, that was me, that was my experience, and be able to examine that experience in many different ways and to be able to talk about it. And I think you and I both have finally gotten to the point where we are ready to own our stories and our narratives and to share it with the world.
Yeah.
And I don't mean in a way that's like, you know, going to be calling people loud or, being negative, not at all, but more like sharing who we are and what has
Hmm.
impacted us in our life and the experiences that have made us the codas that we are today. And it's those stories that are really important. And so if we share those stories, if we're brave enough to open them up to the world and share them, it allow other people to maybe share their own story or even
Yeah.
inspire people to have discussions around these stories, whether they're with your friends, your colleagues, or even with your children. And, you and I both think that only good can come from this. So,
Yeah. And real talk, we're going to get pushback.
sure.
I mean,
Okay.
it's the nature of
Social media.
people having that and people having the
Yeah.
right
And social
to their
media.
own
So,
opinion.
yeah.
Yeah. And what's interesting to me personally is that I've been working as a coach just like you have, Sue, and a
Hmm.
lot of our conversations with our clients is around mindset.
Right.
And what I mean by that is what are the narratives that we take hook, line, and sinker? These narratives we believe are
Hmm.
correct, and we ascribe to those narratives. And I'll give you an example of that. Women are terrible drivers. Deaf people are cheap. Interpreters are only about the money. Those
Hmm.
are narratives that we have heard within our community, and we adopt that as truth.
Hmm.
Oftentimes, our actions will either support that narrative or actively
Hmm.
work to distance ourselves from the narrative.
Oh my God, tell me about it.
Yeah. So, my narrative about opening up our private coffee chats is that deaf people are going to be like, what are you doing? You're going to be talking about what it's like to be a coda and how that's hard. What do you know about hard? Oh, and
Mm,
you're going to be talking about money. Well, typical interpreter being financially driven. Those are narratives that I have accepted and I hold it dearly as accurate. And that's what
mhm,
encouraged me to keep these coffee chats closed. But if I'm going to be talking with my customers and clients about mindset, I have to address my own mindset. And the
mhm,
truth is that narrative may reach us, but I had to really grapple with the benefit versus the risk. And once I could
Mhm.
see the benefit to our community, and I'm talking about codas, and I'm talking about deaf people, and I'm talking about interpreters, anyone being
Right.
high, and comparing that to potential risks, which those are personal. My feelings might be a little hurt, my ego might be a little bruised, but the benefit far outweighs the risk. And that's when
Mhm.
I decided that it was worth to do it, and do it brave and do it scared. So
Yeah, exactly. Doing the big scary thing, right? And so here we are.
here we are. So I also want to invite our audience that when we start to share more videos, if whoever you are, and regardless of your identity, if you have an emotional reaction, if you feel anger, I would ask, who are you angry at? I'll give you an example. For many years, I received the message that interpreters are financially driven, interpreters are um, uh, are stingy, that codas have no ethics, no boundaries. These are narratives that I've heard over the years, and I'm not denying that there are people out there that
Sure.
have inappropriate behavior. Codas,
Sure.
interpreters, regardless, they definitely have those people, those examples of that. And I've accepted that. And I have worked very hard to avoid any kind of behavior that could even be perceived as that negative archetype. And at the
Mhm.
end of the day, who are you mad at? Are you mad at interpreters? Or should we actually be mad at a system that has been created so that the world is so inaccessible that deaf people are forced to work with interpreters?
Mhm.
And so, how do we appropriately assess and identify our personal frustrations, our oppression, and our anger? We often will assign our anger to the easiest entity instead of actually looking at who's causing the problem.
Mhm.
So, that understanding helped me give myself a little bit of grace, and also be a little bit more forgiving with deaf people, because it used to frustrate me when I would be lumped into
Mm.
this category, and I would actively work to not be a part of that category. But then I
Mhm.
realized that it's not about me.
Right, right.
It's not. I can be mad also, but I'm not going to be mad at interpreters. I'm going to be mad at the system
Mhm.
for putting both deaf people and me in this situation. And so that's an
Mhm.
example of mindset work that you and I are really in the throes of.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited to be here because our CODA stories, our narratives, they're out there. But oftentimes we don't share them. We keep them in the closet, right? Because we're
Yeah.
afraid.
Hmm.
I mean, we're afraid for a lot of different reasons, of making our parents look bad. I mean,
Oh,
let's
yeah.
be honest, right?
Oh, yeah.
We don't want you to look at our parents in a negative light. And at the same time, our experiences growing up were like, whoa. But do we blame our parents for that? Again, going back to who
Exactly.
we should really be mad at, the system for putting codas in this position in the first place.
Right.
So again, we have many stories, and my and our hope is that if we were to share these narratives, that isn't only going to help other codas to maybe think about their own narratives, to reassess them, to reframe them for again who they really may be mad at, but also to take another look at their own experience and to reframe that experience for themselves. And hopefully, it'll allow folks to have conversations, between them and deaf folks and with other hearing folks as well. The more that we share, the more that folks can recognize CODA as an identity is not just a monolith, right? That it is, in fact, so diverse. And that in that diverse experience, we are weaving a beautiful and colorful identity, which we call CODA. But each of us has to contribute our story to bring out that vivid color, right?
Mhm.
Right now, it just looks like one color.
It's
And that
boring.
doesn't represent me. That story is not me. It's boring. Right.
Right, right.
Exactly.
Definitely. I love that. And you're absolutely right. That's been the strong narrative that codas are supposed to keep it under wraps,
Hmm.
keep it close to the vest. But I think there's a lot of negative things that could happen, right? Because we don't want to shame our community, but that also means that we're not celebrating our community as well.
Exactly.
And I'm very close with my parents. I
Hmm.
am. And my trauma isn't from my parents. Like we just
Hmm.
talked about, it's from the system that put all three of us, me, my mom, and my dad, in a position where I had to take responsibility for things that I shouldn't have as a young
Right.
child. But
Right.
it's not my parents. I'm very close with my parents. If any of you have ever met me, you know that I almost instantly like to talk about my family because I really cherish them. And keeping my story close to the chest means that I'm not sharing the wonderful richness about the Coda identity also.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you need both.
Yeah. So we're here. Expect to see us in future videos talking about hard things, joyful things, and everything in between. Things that you and I are concerned about and, want to put out into the ether for discussion. Um, so we hope that you will join us in that conversation and build this discussion together.
I'm excited.
Yeah, me too.
All right, bye bye.
Bye.